name is Rob, and I'm a builder at Elevate.ai, and this is CONVOLENS. You can think of CONVOLENS as a real-time notebook LM, where we take your streamed audio inputs, whether that be your microphone or your system audio, and we use that to generate slides, infographics, fact checks, questions to ask next, all in real time, all as the conversation unfolds. What you're seeing on the screen now is what a user sees when they first log in, and we want to immediately prompt the user to configure the app, and that's because ConvoLens is really super configurable. You can configure your layout, so what lenses you see on the screen, what widgets. You can configure settings on each of those widgets, like what LLMs they use, what specific things you want to look for, so you can add to their system prompts, like only look for facts about cats, or generate images about cats. Also, you can configure it by adding to the context. So you can set something that we call context and participants. So you can ground what your recording sessions are going to be in a base truth. Like you can say, this is the This Week in Startups podcast, and Chamath Palihapitiya and Jason Calacanis are going to be on this podcast this week. And that way, whenever we generate a slide or generate an infographic or fact check a claim, we have that context while we are generating that artifact. That's the high level overview of the app. For now, let's dive right in. And also, everything that I mentioned that we can configure can all be done through your voice or through a chat session, not just the UI. So here we go. We're going to dive in now.
I'll get you set up in under a minute. You can talk or type and skip anything you don't need.
We set up
Your work.
the podcast This Week in Startups, and the guest this week is going to be Chamath Palihapitiya, and the host is Jason Calacanis.
On it. I'll pull that together.
So now it's going to research that podcast and those participants and propose them so that I can then add them to the session before I start recording. And you can go as deep as you want with this research as you'd like. This drawer that you're seeing where the chat is basically Perplexity inside of ConvoLens. So you can use that as your, chat GPT, if you will. It has access to web searches and various tools to do things apart from actually being able to control the app by like changing the layouts, changing settings, and all that stuff. So in this case, we already had researched This Week in Startups and the two participants, but if we hadn't, it would have taken about the same amount of time to find them and add their images. So from save, we're going to go ahead and add them to the session. So we're adding this context to the session, and we're adding Jason to the session and Chamath to the session. And once those are added and we want to actually start a session, we can simply click record, or with our voice, we can start a session. That's what I'm going to do now.
Hey there.
Hey,
I'm ConvoLens.
Can you close the drawer and start the recording?
I'll close the drawer and get the recording started. Recording is live, and I'm ending the voice session now. The app will close voice after this.
So what it just did is it started the recording. And once we start the recording and we have an active context with participants, it'll start generating slides and generating infographics based off of just that context. So before the conversation actually starts, it already has something to start generating. In this case, it's just a slide about This Week in Startups and the featured cast, and also an infographic featuring Chamath and Jason, and maybe something that they might be interested in talking about. Apart from that, we have other lenses that are on the screen right now, right? We have the fact check lens on the screen. We have this visualizer. We have these entities lens that is finding all of the entities that we mentioned. You can think of it as person, places, and things. Some of these lenses are used to inform the slides and the infographic, but also some of them you can run standalone, like the live claims or the fact check lens. And something we can fact check and something relevant to this conversation would be 8090 just raised its Series A $135 million round. So you see it saw that as something that needs verification, and now it's going off and trying to verify that fact, and it indeed verified that 8090 raised a $135 million Series A. Congratulations, guys. That is incredible. Apart from that, we have these visualizers, so you can visualize your conversation better, different ways of digesting the information. A lot of these can be used to better inform the slides and the infographic, but also some of them can be used standalone, like the questions to ask next. Here we have a challenging question. That's a great question to ask, right? Maybe it would be distracting for me. And in this case, this dashboard seems like it has a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, but we can configure this to be as minimal or as in the background as we like. And by what I mean by that is the following.
Hey there,
Hey,
I'm
can you
CONVOLENS,
pop out
ready when
the-
you are.
Can
What
you
would
pop out the fact check claim, please? The fact check lens, please.
I'll open the fact check lens for you. The fact check lens is already active. If there's a specific claim you'd like me to
Yeah,
fact,
can you open it in its separate window, please?
I'll pop the fact check lens into its own separate window for you. It's now open in its own window. If you have
So now you can see that fact checking is in a completely separate window outside of the dashboard. And we can do this with all of the lenses. We can have this minimal setup so you only have the lens that you need, or you can share this in your meeting as its separate window, and you can pop this on the screen as needed. And you can do this with slides, infographic, all of the lenses really. As you can see, live slides are coming in one by one. Here's 8090 bypasses, scaling paradigms, $135 million Series A, unverified claim to certified truth in under 3 seconds. Yeah, and then you can see we have the infographic. Another thing, I keep mentioning this configurability. You can see here, if we go to settings, just to have a little bit of fun with it. If we go to anime on the infographic, we can generate this in an anime style. So it doesn't have to be this hyper realism. We have other styles that are maybe more professional that ship out of the box, but you can bring your own prompt. You can style this however you'd like. The same goes for the slides. So there's a anime Jason and anime Jamoth looking very dapper. And yeah, so that's the gist of the application. One last thing I'd like to show you is the chat and how you would interact with the chat across your different sessions. Summarize this session. Okay, so it's saying we're demonstrating Elevate's capabilities, real-time AI generation, modular lenses, fact check, entity tracking visualizer, highly configurable, iterative intelligence. Great. Now I can ask it, have we ever spoken about this? And then it does a broader search across all of our sessions, and it says, we definitely have, because this is not my first time recording this. Yes, so we can see that, and we can see in our history, right? We can see all of the times I tried this today. Today's only been a couple of times. So if we want to go check out maybe a different session, let's go see one. Let's see this VC roundtable one. That one's, it's interesting. Let's see, flow state and creative process. Okay, here's an interesting one. I was trying to get creative with the slides here. So with slides, as with all of everything that's in the app, you can configure the models that you use, right? So we can come into the chat. Right now it's automatic, so it's depending on the prompt that you're using as your input, it's deciding what model it should use. But we can be direct on what model we want it to use, and that will gauge different results depending on the prompt. Just like with each lens, like Infographics defaults to Gemini 3.1. Now there's 3.5. There's also GPT-2 that we can use. So yeah, it's highly configurable, all through voice, really trying to bridge the gap between the person with a knowledge trying to explain what they are trying to mean to the person that doesn't have that knowledge, so that they can fully digest it and understand it in a way that is very personal to them. And yeah, that's the main gist. CONVOLENS, why are you awesome? Great. Thanks, guys.